Hi everyone, here's the Bookchemist once again, and today I'm reviewing Things We Lost in the Fire by Mariana Enriquez, an awesome horror short story collection which, as far as I could see, has nothing to do with the Bastille song of the same name, and if anything it appears inspired more by Morbid Angel than by any kind of derivative British pop music. Things We Lost in the Fire is a quite disturbing short story collection filled with very graphic horror fiction. It features lots of supernatural elements, and some stories feature little to no supernatural at all. Some stories play that card more heavily, but most of the stories tend to deal quite graphically with the kind of horrid shit that goes on in the darkest corner of its setting, which is South America, Argentina in particular. And the sense of place you find in these stories is one of their greatest strengths. Some of the stories deal with the drug traffic, some of the stories deal with organized crime, some of them mention the Argentinian government's dark past, but in general this I don't think is an excessively political book. Sure, the horror elements in it are connected with these real-life horrors, but it never feels like Mariana Enriquez is using horror to discuss these political issues or to make a point about how evil this or that political group is. More than that, the supernatural and horror elements in these stories seem to me like they're used to discuss about the horrors of the human psyche, to discuss the pits of depravity where people will fall in certain conditions. The way she paints the slums, for instance, of Buenos Aires, or some of the most backward places in the Argentinian countryside is beautiful, because on the one hand it shows, the author shows how shitty these places are and how terrible and how dangerous, but on the other hand she has a clear fascination with some of these landscapes, and she shows the hidden beauty of these places, of life, the kind of free life you can live in these places. And one of the great reflections in this book, and in particular in the first story, The Dirty Kid, is the idea, is this wondering whether you romanticize this kind of landscape because it's inherently good, because there's something good with these dark places and dark corners, or because it's just a story you need to tell yourself to make sense of these horrible situations. And that in a way is a reflection we could extend to the whole collection and to the whole of horror literature in general. Why do we romanticize it? Is it because there's some beauty hidden in all this horror and violence and monsters? Or is it because it's a way for us to make sense of these terrible things and turn them into beautiful stuff? That's heavy stuff, but going back to Earth, the collection is awesome. Do read it. It's not necessarily the most consistent collection I've ever read, and some stories are definitely better than others, and some stories are a bit too graphic to be rewarding if you ask me, but that might just be because I'm a pussy. There's one story in here that is quintessentially Lovecraftian and even name checks Yog Sothoth, and as you might imagine, it's the best in the collection, hands down. And one thing I'll say is that the collection has a good rhythm, so that you get one story that's especially disturbing, and then you get another story that feels more adventurous and might really be just a Goosebumps book for adults, and then you get a more supernatural story, and then another disturbing tale, and then a more static story, and then one with more action. There's a good rhythm in the book, and you'll read it in a breeze. It's really a pleasure. If you're a fan of horror literature and you're not squeamish around mutilated bodies, do check out Things We Lost in the Fire. If you're not necessarily interested in horror literature, it's still a great, amazing short story collection, and it never overplays its supernatural elements, so if for whatever reason you have a problem with monsters, I'm sure you would still be able to appreciate this collection too. And I haven't even talked about the way it deals with issues of feminism and the way women are treated and considered in today's society, in Argentina for instance, and the way some of these stories and the horror elements in these stories are a way for women to be empowered through storytelling and through these terrible, horrific elements. But that's just because this is a treasure chest, and I'll let you discover about all those amazing things by yourself. Thanks to the good people at Portobello, which is the publishing house that publishes Things We Lost in the Fire in Britain, for their review copy of the book. You were awesome, and do check out the collection. Thank you guys for watching once again. Let me know what you think about Mariana Enriquez and her stories in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.